Welcome to the Sci-Fi Guys. I'm your host, Dave, and with me always is Chad and John. You might ask yourself a question. What are we? What are the Sci-Fi Guys? Well, we are just a bunch of guys that love science fiction. We take movies in particular right now, and we kind of go through them. We look for plot holes. We look for things that we could fix if it was up to us. You know, some movies just need fixing. Some movies just need a little bit of tweaking or correcting, and other movies. Uh, well, we've had a few of those where it would have been better if they not made the movie.
Very true, sadly.
Yeah. So this week we are discussing a movie from 1975, The Terror of Mechagodzilla. Do I have the slide? Yeah, there he goes. I actually have the DVD for this one. Yeah, the battle.
I think I'm more impressed by
save...
that fact, Dave.
What? Did I have a DVD?
No, of this specifically. DVD, fine, but of this specifically is very intriguing to me.
Well, of this cover. I mean, they had a couple different covers, but I've actually got this one with this cover. So
look at you.
Yeah. Anyway, so John, you get to lead us off with questions today, right?
All right, so I'm not going to lie. Questions I actually found somewhat difficult to go. I don't know. I feel like the level I normally go on. Obviously, I still did. I made it work, but I don't know. It was just kind of a fun film to me and kind of harder to ask some of those deeper questions. But one of the overall, after watching the whole film, what's the most likely to happen part of this film? So I gave 4 options when I sent them to y'all pre-show, and those were the scorned scientist going to someone who believes in him / will pay for him, his research, secret aliens, monsters in the ocean the general population doesn't know about, or a giant robot. Which of those do you think is ever most likely to happen? That's my first question. And if not one of those, what?
Oh, the scorned scientist by far. That to me, I mean, it's look at our history. I mean, there was so many so we say German scientists that came and defected over to the United States because they were scorned and were looked down upon on their own country, and plus we were paying for their research. So
yeah.
But if you were to take that out, because I thought that was too easy of a question, I would say giant robots. I really would. I mean, space aliens that look like humans. Yeah. Monsters in the ocean. I just, we kind of went over that in the Pacific Rim, and I think we kind of hit on that giant robots could be a thing. We could have Godzilla could exist. I mean, in all reality, if you go back and watch the original
1956,
I was going to say 54, but 54, 56, somewhere in there, they kind of tell the story of how Godzilla became, and it was nuclear radiation testing on an uncharted island. And it was basically started as a lizard and just kind of got bombarded and grew and grew and grew and grew. And then it became Godzilla. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a sound bite for that. I should have. I just sorry.
Chad, what do you think outside of the scientist now? I guess at this point,
well,
it's pretty feasible.
I don't know. I was going to go with door number 1, but I don't see the aliens. We hit on Pacific Rim. The only thing you can see is the robots. Any other thing is, I don't know. I still say door number 1, the scientist, scorned scientist.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that to you guys. And I'll also be honest, on the social media side of things, there's always some conspiracy out there. And, normally Facebook has the real loony conspiracy theories, but TikTok has one right now that is supposed that the government has released information that they have discovered aliens / seen aliens / have images of aliens in the ocean. And part of what prompted that question and what is most realistic is the monsters in the ocean thing. Well, supposedly, wild conspiracy theory, they're there, they're out there, man. Because there's so much of the ocean we haven't explored, and supposedly our government's released that info. But I just thought it was real fun on the timing and having watched Godzilla to throw that one in there too. So, but I completely agree. I think the scientist jumping sides, going where the money is, I think that's just probably the most human, real thing out of the whole film.
Well, that's one thing. If this for those of you out there in YouTube land, the Terror of Godzilla actually is a sequel to Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and if you actually watch the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the movie, where they're doing all the credits, that's actually the very last scene of the first movie, of where basically Godzilla rips off the head of the Mechagodzilla. So, but there was some differences between the two movies about him and about the space aliens. So, I really didn't want us to get too, it's just, unless you've seen them all, and I haven't seen either of these movies in years. So, I just remember there was some points on the first movie that didn't flow to the second movie, but I'm not counting those as plot holes because we didn't watch the first movie. So
yeah, there you go.
Didn't count.
It does work. Well, speaking of beginning of the film, submarine goes down to recover the parts of Mechagodzilla that they can. It clearly doesn't make it, thanks to monster number 2, right? The Titanosaurus. That's the one that kills it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. So my question is, why almost immediately after that, they have a meeting and they're like, well, let's just send another submarine down. Surely there's something else we can discover there with either the Titanosaurus, Mechagodzilla's part, something. And they just immediately are like, let's just send another one down. So why are they so quick just to send another submarine, do you think?
I think they wanted the tech.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted Mechagodzilla's tech. They really wanted to know what made it tick, what it was. So, they did say that they were going to have extended sonar or something, so they could see stuff from farther away, so they know they could turn around and get away. But they didn't really they didn't even know what they were seeing down there. They didn't know anything about Titanosaurus either. So,
yeah, but that makes it more wild to me.
Let me rephrase that. Until they got the tape recorder back, the black box, and then they were like, it looks like a dinosaur. To me, I would have been like, you want to go down there? Go ahead. You go down there.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. What crew is saying yes to that mission? Like, you just saw this other one get obliterated. Who's saying yes?
Well, hold on. You got to see where their culture is from. It's not, here you go, they got destroyed. I am not going. It's sense of honor.
That's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true, Chad.
Well, let's see here.
I'll give you that.
My family got destroyed. My sense of honor. I want to go down there and see what did it and kind of bring honor back. And I get that point.
I'll give you that.
But I wouldn't go down there. If it was, I see a submarine get destroyed by just waves current up on the water. No, sorry.
A flesh wound.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Flesh wound.
All right. So, taking a step back, we talked about this overall idea, and we talked about the silliness of humanity and following through on the same plans with slightly different changes. Some technical questions, because I love photography in general, videography. I love to look at stuff. So overall, I'm going to hit a few questions kind of in small order here. What do you guys think about their use of models? I know it's the 70s. We've fit a lot of other films.
They didn't have
CGI.
CGI. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But comparatively, how do you think they did?
They look like models.
They look like models. They
look like models. But they always that's one thing that's so great about these old B movies and these old Godzilla movies and stuff. You knew they were models. As a kid, I knew they were models, but it still was like, oh, that's cool looking, that's kind of what made me build, get into, building 3D models and stuff, that just I love everything about model making, and so I really enjoyed it. I mean, yes, I know they were models. I knew they were models again from even as a kid, but there's just something about low budget, take the CGI out of it and have it's not necessarily realism, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Well, you look at it. Yeah, you can tell with models. There was other stuff they could have done too. They could. I think Gumby was out in the '70s, right? I'm
Around
bringing
that
that up
time, I feel.
because clay motion. They could have made this stuff out of clay and kind of
Yeah, but
still.
that's a long process to do claymation.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
that.
yeah. That's what I'm saying is you can tell it was models, but to me, this is the type of movie that you can put it on the back, put it on the background and be working and kind of looking at it and still follow along. You
Oh
know,
yeah, I agree, and I think obviously again, like you guys said, they're clearly models, but they made it work. And I think you didn't, at least for me, I didn't lose any of the story for it. And I think they were just real creative in their use of it, and especially early on, I think that's when movies started to kind of figure out how to get more creative cuts and angles and ways to make things work. It feels like movie making in general, either slightly before that time or especially during that time, started hit an era of just really getting creative in ways to tell stories with the way they worked behind the scenes. And I think I just really appreciate that. So I like the use of models, but you guys are definitely right. You can definitely still tell.
So let me throw something in here. I know you guys are a little bit younger than me.
oh really?
Yeah, just a little bit. And I'm sure that you guys grew up on a show. Did you notice any of the videography that looked very much like a kid's show? It's Morphin' Time.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Did you notice
Oh,
how
that's
especially when how they do the camera just right and just that angle that they use to
Yeah.
make it look
the
like
angle, but also the zoom in. Power
Yeah.
Rangers uses the zoom in so much.
Mhm.
Ooh.
That's where I knew it from. I was trying to figure out where like I'd seen it before. It's definitely Power Rangers.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean they definitely
Ultron.
Power Ranger, Ultraman, well, Voltron was a cartoon, so it really wasn't live action. So I mean, just if you want to go live action type, um, all those big giant monster movies did basically the same thing, and then even and when
It
what was Power Rangers was what in the 90s, you
was
know,
Yeah,
still going on.
yeah. And so, I
that
mean,
never
you just
stopped.
notice the same type of videography. I know I had to say that for you, John, because I know how much you love videography and stuff.
Yeah, I
So,
appreciate that because I was genuinely trying to make the connection of where I had seen that before because I knew I had, and I just couldn't
Well,
piece it together.
it's we all seen. I mean, like I said, the use of what they did, they made do and made it good as they could. Now, it wasn't clear and crisp. Like, oh, here's this. It was so fast moving, you can still see the frame by frame, like still see the old frame a little bit.
yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
And
I
then, but
mean, and you could tell they're people in rubber suits,
yeah,
oh yeah. Or when they threw a model Godzilla behind the set, those always made me giggle a little bit.
Oh, when they kick it and then it goes
yeah.
flying. Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
or Godzilla pick up Mechagodzilla and just chunk it. I'm
Oh
like,
goodness.
I mean, honestly, though, if you think about it, weaponry, Mechagodzilla should have wiped out Godzilla.
yeah,
Oh, he should have been over in like 2 minutes. No
You know,
questions asked.
but I just, I know Godzilla's can, he can absorb all kinds of energy because of the radiation he's had, so, but it seemed like in that final scene, when they were all fighting, it seemed like nothing Mechagodzilla was shooting at him was doing anything to him. It was just like bouncing off of
Oh
him,
yeah, 100%. Well, we kind of talked about the zoom in a little bit. For me, it was just kind of interesting, that constant zoom in. But you hit what I know it from, and I'm satisfied in that conversation anyway. My last question, technically speaking, is in a lot of older films in general, but I really noticed it in this one. They don't have as much music. In modern films, there's almost always a score going on, even in
Right.
dialogue, even in other things. So much to the point that the reason A Quiet Place, the original, worked so well is because it did take that back out. Like it stepped it back a notch to tell the story, because everything has music in it that we watch, and just almost constantly. But you go back to a film like this one, and when there's dialogue, when there's not direct fighting, when there's not a whole lot going on, there's just no music. They just let it go, and they just let the words speak. And what do you guys think about the lack of music that they had back then? Do you think it was a budgeting thing? Because obviously, this one especially was more of a B film, but even your blockbusters didn't seem to have as much. Or was it the way they just told stories? What do you guys think?
I think it's just the way they told stories. Because you got to think, in the town, they had music, but they didn't want, it wasn't, nobody was writing scores to go with the movie. Only, and I think you, before, it was a couple years before, years later, that you had Star Wars, you had Indiana Jones that has some kind of scores to go with it, but it was not, but they was never played with it. Play, so you might have stuff going on in the movie, but you really enjoyed because it was with no music in it.
I'm trying to think back when we watched Planet of the Apes.
It had some music in there. It had something, but it
It
wasn't music.
yeah, it did have some kind of audio
Yeah,
background, and this did not. You know, I mean, the only time you typically did is when Godzilla was coming out, of
Mhm.
the ocean or whatever, the dun dun dun, and
yeah.
then that was it. You know, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I want to say there was some kind of music playing or something in the background when he found out about spoilers, Planet of the Apes, when he found out at the Statue of Liberty. I think I could be wrong. It's been so long since we've watched that movie. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, remember, this is 1975 is when this movie came out. I was actually looking. The original one versus Mechagodzilla came out in 74, so it was only a year later. Unlike, you remember, like Star Wars, they would take 3 or
Yeah.
4 years to come out for the next movie. So this was definitely low rate, low budget. Um, as for the movie, I not having the music, I want to say that's probably a Japanese cultural thing.
Hmm.
And they felt like it didn't need it. The dialogue was there. Did you guys see an English dubbed version, or did y'all have Japanese with subtitles?
I was
Japanese
a sub.
subtitles.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to remember. I didn't watch mine. I watched the one online because I didn't want to have to dig out my DVDs. and I'm still trying to work on my database. So actually, I probably could have on that. I wonder if it's on there. If it's in English or not. Anyway, but yeah, I just don't think that I honestly, I don't care.
Yeah.
They
I
didn't
don't. I
have that
don't.
background.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's a intent behind it or not. Ultimately, I could definitely see, almost in hindsight too. We kind of hit cycles in film, because your very first films were no dialogue, all music, and maybe we just flipped the switch a little bit for a little while, and then back the other way, and then back the other way. There's really no telling there. I just figured I'd
Yeah.
ask it. All right.
You did miss a
Well,
question though, and I really want to talk about this.
which one?
Who is the real villain?
I ain't gotten to it yet,
Oh, well,
but
you
that is
said
a
you were.
great question. Who is the
Yeah.
villain?
I should have got jumped onto the sea, the alien. Because it maybe healed the doctor's daughter and stuff, but his motives trying to take over the I said New Tokyo, the wipe out the bugs.
I can see that. I can see that. See, to me, I want to say the real villain is the doctor himself. Because he used his knowledge and controlling a sentient being, not for good purposes. Let's just put it that way, And then his daughter eventually took over and controlled both of them, which I thought that was kind of weird. But I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a little bit. What about what's your thoughts on that, John?
I don't
Who was the
know
real
that
villain?
I have thoughts, because my thought was, when I asked this question, is almost from last movie to this one, we went from like no villain to almost too many, because it's like they just kept throwing different ones out there, and then you had these layers of like, well, actually this one's controlled by this guy, but he's technically being controlled by these guys who are preying on this person who actually is also evil. I don't know. My problem is I don't think that I really saw one set villain. Obviously, there were several evil characters. I just don't know if there was one in particular that was like the top of top. They are the actual antagonist. So I think we went from almost none to then too many this round. So that kind of threw me off. So, well, that last thing, if the aliens are possibly one of our villains, they were played on as secret aliens, as if like not very well discovered. How do they stay so secret while still amassing so much stuff? Like, obviously Interpol finally started to kind of catch on because they got caught a little bit there, but like how are they staying secret with all this stuff?
I think
Middle
they
of
did it
nowhere.
very secretly. They did it all underneath the table type, And also, you got to remember the time. This was also in the 70s, so people didn't just, hey, this company is worth this much money. This company is worth this much money. You were able to get away with a lot of stuff back then.
Yeah.
And I think they were able to just fly under the radar, so to speak.
Fair.
Well,
Well, sorry, Chad. Go ahead.
so you gotta look, it's saying where it's at, where year, but they were really operating middle, like the base was in the mountains, middle of nowhere. So it could be just the location.
That's true.
They can live in plain sight that look like humans and very little interactions with other people.
You bring up a very good point there. That probably is a big of it. They just secluded themselves in general, and introverts definitely went under the radar back in the day.
Yeah.
So they were just introverts all along. Who knew?
Oh no!
Who like to wear silver shoes?
Yes. All right, last one. With these aliens, why do they keep trying to keep Katsura alive? Like, I feel like there are many of people they could have had and chosen. And I understand the power play on the professor, the doctor, to kind of keep him around. But even past that, I feel like there were points where they just kept trying to keep her alive, that she wasn't necessarily fully required to be around still.
They kept her around to control the doctor.
Yeah.
Bottom line. That was the only reason is, because they saved her life the first time and then they saved her life again, he feels indebted to them. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, you saw that play, like you saw in big where she got shot at the board and they saved her, but then again did it again in the middle of the movie, and that because the doctor was pulling away, he was not want to do anything anymore, and
Right.
they saved. They went saved her like this, and we're gonna plant Mechagodzilla controller inside of her, and then that made the Doctor really think more.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
fair
so he
enough.
was forced to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it that. Well, guys, that's all I had in regards to questions. So,
Okay, we'll go to our next segment. I'm not sure how much of this we're going to be able to talk about. Did you guys see any blatant, weird, just in your face plot holes? I can tell you I did not. I saw some minor ones, but how about
I
you
didn't
guys?
see-
I mean,
I didn't
like
see any face.
silly, it's B-rated old movie stuff, but not like storyline stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, most of them were goofs that I saw, like, to me, why were they driving American cars? I lived in Japan for 4 years, and I saw 2 American cars on the entire island, and they weren't owned by Interpol or the police. They were owned by U.S. military, So, I just thought, things like that were kinda just out there. I mean, I really didn't see. I know there was some that I read online about the doctor, you know or like the question is, okay, if you don't want to work with humanity, why are you working with another group of humans? Even though you don't know they're space aliens originally, they are humans. So then why are you
Yeah.
working with them? Why aren't you just doing all this on your own? That's about the only thing I really. And then, of course, how does a guy fall in love with someone in less than an hour and a half?
Well,
So
I didn't want to bring hey, I don't want to go to that route. But you got to look at it. You have the kids when coming and looking trying to see what's going on.
yeah, there was no reason for that.
The reason for that, everybody's evacuating. They say, come on, no, we're going. You're chicken. If you're not, I'm going. You can stay here. I'm coming with you. But then sees there in trouble that save me, Godzilla, and the Godzilla comes to the rescue.
Yeah, yeah. You could use that in your fixing and improving section. And since we're there, let's just go there. Okay, what would we do? What would you do to fix or improve this movie? John, you're the one that picked this movie, so sort of. I kind of helped a little bit. So
Yeah, that's true.
we'll go you first, then me, then Chad.
I mean, honestly, I think we can throw the simple one out there. Definitely give this updated general technology and filmmaking. I think you have a honestly pretty jam up film in the modern era. Obviously, I don't want it to be remade because I love just the nostalgic, silly feel of it. I think that is honestly part of what makes it. So there's part of me that wants to fix it just to see what the story would be like on its own, with just actual good production behind it. And then there's a part of me that enjoys the old silliness of it. I think I would take some of, and this is going to sound crazy because we're these sci-fi guys, but I would take some of the sci-fi elements out. It definitely feels like they threw a lot of things in. Like you have aliens, she's a cyborg, huge giant monsters, like giant robot. It really feels like they threw a lot in there. Which, in
Yeah, too
fairness,
much.
I know at this point Godzilla's been around, almost 20 years, as a genre. So they obviously have to take it somewhere. So I get where some of that might have started to come in that way. But I think I would fix throwing so much into one film, and kind of focus more on maybe Godzilla himself. But then again, I get that it's the follow-up movie, so I get some of that. But I think those are my two big ones. I would love to see it in the modern era, and maybe take some of the sci-fi elements out.
Nah, never. Leave the sci-fi elements in. But I would change a couple things. First of all, I would definitely make it a little bit easier so we can know who is actually a space alien and who isn't. Especially like when they're chasing after people, I kind of got confused on who was who, and then when someone got shot, I was like, well, were they a good space alien? Were they a bad? Like when the guy was running and then did a flip, and I was like, well, does that mean he's a good space alien? I never understood some of those. I really got muddled on. So fix that. What was her name? Katsura?
Katsura.
Tuna.
Katsura. Okay. When the aliens put let's change that. They did not put the Mechagodzilla device in her. They put it in, they kept it in one of themselves. And actually have the action where Godzilla is like really hurt. I mean, he gets hurt
Yeah.
a lot. And then she realizes what's going on, so she can still control Titanosaurus and actually have the two of them team up and fight and beat Mechagodzilla. That's how I would like to see it.
Yeah.
And then let her die at the end, or something, like it was just too hard to control, him and to keep the other one at bay or something. And then, so she can still have her demise, and the guy caring about her and all that. You can still keep all that in there if you wanted, but
take it out. Take that.
okay. Well, go ahead, Chad. Now on to you.
Well, like I said, I'll use some common sense. Like you got people evacuating, you got a monster coming towards you. Well, I'll run towards it to the danger and put yourself in harm's way. I get the point of curiosity, but don't run towards it or sit there and look and then
Okay,
gone.
Chad, hold on. Let me jump in here. So you guys know I was in the military, right? And I was a flying crew chief, so I used to fly on the airplanes. We used to be on C-130s, and we were flying out of Afghanistan at the time, and we were like, "Hey, we got small arms fire off over on our right hand side." So did we go ahead and put on our flak jackets and our helmets and all that? No, we ran to the windows to look, and this is honest to God truth. We did. The kids were doing the same thing. They ran over there to look.
Yeah, I get that. That's what I'm saying. I get that. But doing this like where they were at first, they could see, but they just I'm gonna go a little bit closer and try to inch closer, put themselves. But I get the point of them doing it. It's just somehow to summon Godzilla there. I mean, it would have where they were. Help me, Godzilla, and he shows up. But the thing is also, cuts at the end, dying, and the guy, I love professional love. I'm like, yeah, Aaron, you couldn't fall in love with somebody that fast. I was still, keep like he made a bond, make something like that, but don't like he fell in love. And that's his love of his life right now.
Yeah, if anything, if you're modernizing it, he's infatuated with her
Yeah.
or something, Yeah, I can see that. Okay, next segment. Okay, we're going to rate this on a scale of 0 to 5 lightsabers. I guess I'll start. Sure. I love all the big monster movies. I love them. Mechagodzilla is one of my favorites. I thought it was kind of cheesy, the whole, I got to raise my arm up and then I'm going to go like this to shoot, I was like, okay, all right. And again, some of the story we've already mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and give it two lightsabers. So, Chad, how about you?
Well, like I said, I don't mind these monster movies and stuff like this. For the nostalgia, yeah, I'll give it a 2. I mean, I'll watch it again just because of what it is.
Okay, John.
I'm tracking pretty well solid on with you guys. I'm gonna give it a 2.5, just for sheer cheeriness it gave me while watching. Sometimes it did make me very happy.
It did make me pretty happy on some of the stuff too. All right. Okay, please contact us. That means like, subscribe, leave a comment. That's the easiest thing to do. Leave a comment down here in YouTube. We are on all the social media networks on Facebook, Instagram, and X at TheseSciFiGuys. Another way you can contact us is by emailing us TheseSciFiGuys at gmail.com. So we're going to go ahead and give you guys a little sneak peek for next week. Now, typically, we've been doing older movies. Nothing like that was released in the current year. I don't think we've done in the last 2 years since we've been started this. But this year we're doing something different because it just got released on Paramount Plus, and we all have Paramount Plus. So we're going to watch Transformers 1, the origin story of Optimus Prime, Megatron, and I think that is Bumblebee, but I'm not sure if that's Bumblebee, if it's part of his origin story or not.
No, I think it is.
I think it is Bumblebee. So I'm actually looking forward to it. You can see who the voices are: Chris Hemsworth,
Scarlett Johansson,
Brian
Brian
Lawrence Fishburne,
Key,
yeah, I can't see those.
John Hamm.
John Hamm. I'll say it's a pretty star-studded cast.
Keegan Michael Key and Brian Tyree.
Yeah, so it's not the the original Optimus Prime voice, so
No.
or Megatron voice, but it is a good cast.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see. This definitely will be different for us. There's not a whole lot of information out there right now. Where people are like, they beat something to death. So this will be something new. Hopefully, you guys will all enjoy it, and we'll see how that goes.
There you go.
Am I missing anything? I guess any final words? Anybody? No final words. Okay. Well, until next time.
Crash and burn.